You're all burned out on RGB. You've been burned out on RGB for a long time. That's why when these arrived for a build that we're doing for a separate project from ASUS, the XF120 ROG Strix fan, I was like, of course it's gonna be full of RGB. Actually, it's the one thing missing from the marketing materials. Is this made for those that hate RGB? By the company that puts RGB in everything? Wasn't planning on making this video, but now I gotta. Hey, Jay. Jay. Jay.
What?
We got work to do.
Yeah, I'm playing World of Warships. Yeah. World of Warships is the free-to-play naval strategy game where you command the most iconic and famous warships from World War I and World War II, recreated with stunning detail and accuracy. Build your fleet while participating in various game types while upgrading your ship's arsenal along the way. New players who sign up using my link below will receive an exclusive starter pack to get you up and running quickly by receiving 7 days premium time, 1 million credits, 300 doubloons, and the Tier 5 premium ship, the Exeter.
So what are you guys waiting for? Start sinking ships with World of Warships by heading to the description below and getting your freebies. So like I mentioned, these are actually for a different build. And I was expecting them to just be like, you know, but they're not. So this is the ROG Strix XF120 Whisper Quiet PWM fan. They're 120 millimeter, obviously by the name, but I'm really honestly surprised that they do not have RGB on them. So we'll get them out of the box right here. But what kind of piqued my interest here, honestly, is the marketing material and stuff on this. So for instance, they're maglev bearing. So we talked about different bearing types in other fan videos before. And I've recently said in my video regarding, you know, things to not waste your money on, specifically if you're in a budget constraint, is RGB should not be the thing on your list. If you shop in the right category or the right price point, RGB already comes on the stuff, right? So you don't have to worry about that. But I'm surprised that this is gonna be what I believe to be a kind of a halo product in terms of fans for ASUS. But that's because of the specs. Now I don't have no fan chamber to attach this to be able to, oh, they advertise 62.5 CFM and they're only getting 61, bogus material. You know, I don't have a big old thing to attach my fans to. This is the everyday, every person's most relatable type of video that we do regarding fans, where we stick it on something, we put a piece of tape on it and just see how much does it flop. All right, that's all we care about, honestly. That other stuff, that's perfect for technical type videos. I don't do that. So anyway, in terms of the specs, maglev bearing. So the bearing is actually riding on magnetism, which means there's no fluid in there to wear out. It means there's no sleeve bearing to wear out. And it also makes it have the least amount of resistance in terms of spinning resistance because of the fact it's just the magnetism on the bearing that's giving it any sort of resistance, but it's riding on literally a field of magnetism. In terms of noise, they're advertising 22.5 decibels, 62.5 CFM. So if they could truly, and this is where those chambers really come in handy to be able to verify that you're getting 62.5 CFM at 22.5 decibels, that would actually be pretty good, to be honest. But here's what really intrigued me. The 3.07 millimeters of H2O in terms of static pressure. So that would make these amazing fans for water cooling. Also too, inside here, they do provide a chart. And again, this isn't something I can verify without one of those chambers, that shows you what the CFM and static pressure drop-off is with impedance. That impedance being specifically anything stopping the airflow, whether that be a heatsink or a radiator or case mesh or any of that sort of stuff. So it seems to have a pretty decent drop-off in terms of, and by decent drop-off, I mean it kind of does a pretty good job at maintaining static pressure and flow with impedance. Now, one of the things that also affects impedance, or affects noise, is impedance. So case fan mesh, radiators, heat sinks, anything in front of the rad, or the fan, I should say, hard drive cage, whatever, that all is gonna create noise of air going past it. So all of these specs are gonna be basically tested in like the perfect scenario where it's like, okay, here's a case fan mesh, and they like attach it to the front of the fan, and then they do their test. You know, there's other real world scenarios that make these numbers really kind of drop. This is not a sponsored video, so I want this to be First and foremost, I'm not like, oh, Asus said do a video of our fans. These just came in for something else, and I went, I'm curious to see if these are any good. Fan videos around here kind of hit or miss. Sometimes people really eat them up. Sometimes people just go, it's a fan, who cares, it moves air. But you know what, if you've taken a look at case fan prices over the years, they've really trended upward, and they absolutely can increase the cost of your system exponentially. So you got this little sleeve cover here. Asus loves to use these little cardboard cutouts and stuff. We do have, okay, right off the bat, this is the cheap sleeving. It's the rubberized stuff that never untrains because it's been in the box for so long, it'll never undo itself. Dust gets stuck to it, it gets stuck everywhere. It doesn't want to bend or flow. I wish this was like maybe a PET type of sleeving, paracord at least. I hate this rubber stuff. This surprises me being an Asus Strix product because this is like the cheapest material you could possibly put on here in my opinion, both in terms of price and just looks. So anyway, it is PWM. We also get rubber isolating mounts. These are nice in terms of just isolating the fan from the case to make it not, if there's any vibration, it won't transfer through the case, which could transfer through the feet, through your desk, and then you just hear the wah, 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 wah of your fan. The problem is like how long they are. They're really ugly. So I guess what a lot of people would do is they pull them through, get them in position, and then trim them. But then once you do that, you have a hard time pulling it back through if you ever have to take the fan out. You get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, in case you break one, I guess. I have never ever in my life seen a fan come with a fan splitter. So that comes in handy if you have to daisy chain them yourself. All right, let's look at the fan itself. In terms of weight, it's kind of right in the middle. It's nothing too crazy. No, it's not too heavy, it's not too light. Some fans you pick up and you're just like, whoa. If weight equals quality, then this is quality, but this one is kind of in the middle. Nice machined ROG logo on the fan hub. It is metal. Let's do the spin test. Is it centered? Pretty close, not perfect, but it's not wobbling all over the place either. In terms of the cage, it is rubber. It's got rubber standoffs. It's got some nice heat sinky type design on them. This is all just stuff to make it look nicer. It's not like actually doing anything in terms of airflow. Speaking of airflow, they do advertise that their cage is designed to help the airflow. So this right here, this swept kind of a design, sort of follows the shape at which the air is going to be coming off of the blades. These are swept blades, by the way, that have a specific curvature to them, which is going to help with the static pressure. But not only do the cables like kind of run through this channel right here, on the backside you can't really feel it. They are also like a blade. So the backside of this cage, which is very difficult to see, maybe we'll get a close-up shot here, will help direct the airflow and straighten it out. We've showed before, and I really think the only thing I'm gonna buy for fan reviews and case reviews in the future is a smoke machine, because visually being able to see the cone shape at which the air comes off the fan blades or moves through a case, it'd be very nice to be able to balance airflow that way as well, is they will come off at a very sharp angle for multiple reasons. One, it's centrifugal, it's turning. So centrifugal force does affect airflow as well, and air has weight, and it will push out to the sides because of centrifugal force. Two, it's the way the fan blades sweep them. They are thicker on the outside, as you can see here, right, and thinner on the inside. So there's more pressure pushing the air to the outside as it gets swept across the blade. Two, it's got to work its way past the hub. So as air is coming over the blades, being swept to the outside, centrifugal force is in effect, and the hub is in the way, all the air pushes out to the outside. So what this cage is designed to do is help straighten out that airflow, because the straighter we can make the airflow, the higher static pressure and higher flow you can get off of the fan. That's something we've really seen kind of over the last 10 years find its way into fan design, is not just regular blades that move air in free space, because in free space it doesn't have to overcome things like maybe there's a fan filter on one side, maybe there's a hard drive cage on another side, you've got mesh material of the case. In freestanding, open air like this, the only thing it has to overcome is its own air mass resistance and then the cage design. But when you put it in a real world scenario, there's a lot of things for it to overcome. But if we take a look around right here, I mean, other than the fact that it's got some chrome letters on the side that just say ROG Strix, it's very understated. I'm not a fan of the QR code. You could probably put a small hairdryer or something on there and peel up the sticker. I'm not sure what that QR code is for. Can't be that important, right? They felt the need to put it in your face though, facing you, so. I want to do an open air test. I want to do come on! I'm also gonna attach it to a radiator, but I'm gonna attach it to a Corsair radiator, which is a fairly dense fin density. So the FPI, or fins per inch on that, is fairly high on that, which means more resistance. So I'm really curious as to, at full speed, how much we can actually get these fans to move air through. So let me kind of get set up for that. So one of the first things I want to check out here is the volume of both the motor and then just the fan blade noise without anything interfering with it. So these are going full speed, by the way. They're just hooked up to a PWM splitter, which is hooked up to a power supply that with a jumper on it. There is no PWM input, so it's just going to go 100%. So you can hear the motor hum at full speed. But that's just one fan in terms of the noise. I'm curious as to what 5 of them will sound like. Isn't it funny how adding more of the same volume thing raises the total volume? Our AC turned on, I can't even hear him over that now. So this is the ultimate push, 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 push fan. Yes, physically I know it's not gonna move any more air than one fan. There's just gonna be 0 drop between here and here, okay? What is doing that? So I actually just tested it with my little portable air compressor here with 2 fans plugged in. And it's not doing it now. I don't know if maybe, I don't know. I bet you if I hit it with voltage again, turn it off and then do it, it'll do it. But what happened was, spun it up real fast with air, and then this fan's blades, which is also attached, was like, Like you could see, so there, I think it's just the reason why you're hearing that wind down hum is this particular fan controller, because there's no caps or anything in here anywhere else for that voltage to go when they're all spinning, creating a little bit of energy, because electric motor that's being fed power is also making some power as it's turning. In a system, that voltage has somewhere to go. It's grounded, it's got caps and stuff hooked up to the motherboard, other controllers. That voltage just gets eaten up instantly elsewhere. But because all that's happening here is a lot of, power supply plugged into just our controller here with nowhere else for that voltage to go, it feeds back through the fans that eat up that voltage. That power has to go somewhere, right? So as they're spinning, they just all kind of fed back to each other, which makes that motor hum that we were hearing. It's funny, this one did it first, went wah, wah. This is why I really want some sort of visualization for you guys to be able to see airflow. So this is just our paper towel dispenser, just open air sitting here on the table, full speed, like how far away will it actually affect? So I mean, the airflow is very noticeable all the way over here. So then if we do 2 of them, oh, it's really obvious, huh? Jeez. They definitely stack in performance. All right, radiator time. Let's see if they can overcome that. So here's the Corsair rad I was talking about. Basically the same thing as a Hardware Labs radiator. And you can see the fins per inch are fairly dense. They're probably around 15 FPI. I'm gonna use 2 instead of 1 because, I don't know, nobody should really be running a 120 rad anymore for any reason, because all parts that are modern use way more than what 120 millimeter fan can actually overcome. So with the rubber standoffs, the screws kind of get a little snug. You wanna make sure you don't over tighten on your rad. But like in terms of aesthetics, they go really well with this particular radiator. They definitely have like a spaceshipy sort of a theme. All right, so here we are in the rad, 2 fans, push config. There's no real difference between push and pull. I personally like push because of the fact that it gets a fresh supply of air. Ow, and fingers. It's like a prerequisite whenever I do anything with fans.
hell?
This is the crazy part.
It almost feels more like direct because the radiator is also straightening out the air. But what tends to happen when air has to go at a crazy angle into those the fins, and then they're bouncing through 20 or 30 millimeters of fins, or 20 millimeters about, and then comes out straight, there's a lot of velocity lost in that. That's why people would go push-pull, because the other fan on the other side of the resistance is helping pull the air through to overcome that resistance, or the impedance is what they're calling it. This, I feel like that cage is actually working. If that gives you any idea, the sound didn't really change much. And the only thing I can really attribute that to is the fact that if the airflow is already being straightened out as it goes through the cage, it's not the radiator straightening out the air, which means less impedance noise. So as air bounces and touches things, it makes sound. And if it's not having to straighten itself out through the rad, if a lot of the straightening is happening before it gets there and it pushes straight through the rad, there should be less noise happening there. And that's absolutely what, geez, see that? I mean, it's such a dumb, non-scientific way of showing airflow, but you need something visually. The fact that it can still move the paper towel that far away on a flat surface. I mean, look at where my rad is. That's like a good 5 feet. That's a meter and a half, or a meter and 5/8. America, freedom stuff. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, and that is price. I said earlier, when you shop at a certain price point, RGB is expected to be had. These fans are $29.99 USD each. That puts them at the same price as like the Corsair Light Loops or the Lee & Lee Unifans, any of the Unifans. They don't have a controller, they don't have daisy chain ability, and they don't have RGB, which to me means this fan is intended for, and in terms of the specs, they're very comparable, honestly, to like any other fan in that price point. At this price point, the specs of them, the capabilities, the static pressure, the bearing type, the CFM, the noise, they're all comparable to other $30 fans. It's just what you're not getting. I mean, the daisy chaining, I feel like they tossed in that little adapter, Y adapter, just to give you something extra for your money. That was probably worth $1, maybe $1.50, honestly. I kind of feel like they need RGB. There might be someone out there going, I'm gonna buy that fan just because it doesn't have it, because I'm so sick of the RGB marketing that you're gonna be like, I'm gonna stick it to those companies with RGB by buying a fan that doesn't have it. Where at the end of the day, I feel like all you're doing is screwing yourself, because just because something has lighting doesn't mean you have to light it up. You can make it a static color. You can turn it off entirely if you want, but you have the option later on to illuminate your case or something if you so desire. I feel like these fans are grossly overpriced, personally. $30 for one fan, non-daisy chaining, no lighting capability. They're grossly overpriced, personally. They look good, they sound good. The maglev bearing should last a very, very, very long time in any orientation, all right? Because certain bearing types don't like to be horizontal or don't like to be like this or like that even. You know, that versus that is very different on the bearing. I mean, we're gonna use them in the build that we've got them for. I just feel like they're missing something at that price. It's kind of like a little too much too late in the fan market, where people for the same price have moved beyond these capabilities and give you more for it now. What are your comments? Sound off down below. Would you actually spend this much money on this fan without lighting just to stick it to the companies that are putting RGB and everything because you hate RGB even at the extra expense of getting something that doesn't have it but should have it at the price that you're paying for it? If so, let us know down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, we'll see you in the next one with this super unscientific J way of showing y'all how airflow works.